Thanks for the
I don't have any.
gifts.
That's why I don't have any trees.
That's to you.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, December 4th,
Yes.
2017, 7 p.m. Brinker.
Here.
Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Moheski.
Here.
Patchke.
Here.
Skornia.
Here.
Sullentrup.
Here.
Waterman.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated November 20, 2017? Brinker.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Moheski.
Aye.
Patchke.
Yes.
Skornia.
Yes.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes. Having read the minutes, are there any questions or comments, any corrections?
If not, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Heidrich, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated November 20, 2017. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. Change order number 1 and final pay request, Raising Solutions, Mountain Crest Concrete Mud Jacking.
John, do you want to explain this one?
Yes, last week at the admin ops meeting, I think I briefed you all that there was approximately 7 or 8 concrete panels that have settled 2 to 2.5 inches on the Mountain Crest cul-de-sac. They were trip hazard. The pavement was degrading pretty quickly. So we made a decision to have a emergency project to mud jack up those panels to get everything flush again. So that's what this project was. It's pretty. Mud jacking is approximately 40 to 50% less than complete removal of concrete panels. So it's kind of a maintenance item that needed to be done.
Any questions or comments?
Nope. Make motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the item. Thank you.
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments. Washington Historic Preservation Commission reappointment.
Tonight, we have the reappointment of Brian Bogue to the Washington Historic Preservation Commission. His term would end in August of 2021. Any comments or questions? I think Brian was a past chairman of that committee, but now Carolyn Witt is the chairman.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Patke, to approve the reappointment of Brian Bogue to the Washington Historic Preservation Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment. Thank you.
Public hearings, rezoning 101 and 105 East Main Street from C2 General Commercial to C3 Central Commercial District.
All right, thank you. Yes, this is the lot located at the corner of Main and Market. Here you can see it highlighted. Currently, it's the feed and at the antique store. It's the old feed building, feed shop, Bowen Feed. And then there is a apartment building and a house on there as well. As you can see, the current zoning is actually the whole, it looks like it's 2 parcels there. It's one owner, so it's one taxable parcel. Has been zoned C2 since zoning came into effect. I'm assuming because of the commercial use for the antique store, it's why that came into effect in the 80s. I'm not sure exactly why the house as well was also in C2. So technically the house today is grandfathered in. Residential uses are not permitted in C2. What they're requesting is come into the C3 zoning. That's what you see everything to the west here. That's the downtown central business district zoning. And that would actually bring the property into conformance because it does allow, the C3 just allows everything C2 does, but also permits mixing with the residential uses. So I know the developer is here tonight. They did already go to the Historic Preservation Commission to get a certificate of review for demolition of that building, but we don't have any plans for a plat of what the property will look like now. This is just to get it rezoned to bring it into that central business district zoning.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
We need a motion to accept this into the
You need,
minutes?
yeah,
Well, wait a minute, it's a public hearing,
Public
isn't it? Okay, it's a public hearing, so would anyone like to address the council on this item? Andy?
Are you against it?
Good evening, Andy Understall. This project is Main Street Development Project. Yeah, like I said, when we rezoned everything else, this piece of property was not in the TIF, so it did not get rezoned at the same time, sort of. So we own it now, and we are going to demo the Bolin building, which I hate to, but we've had a couple engineers look at it, and it's just not salvageable. We can't raise it. We would just basically be building a shell inside of it to try to hold it up, and it's, you know, in the middle of the building, it's got 18 inches of bow to the west, and anything over 6 inches, you know, according to the engineers, is pretty much, tear down. So, and it's only a 2-brick wall building, so it has, there's not a lot of, you know, if you jack it up, the walls could blow out and things like that. So, but so we did present that to Preservation, and they gave us granted us the demo on that. So we will be doing that and putting 6 new residential units in that space. So.
Any questions or comments?
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andy. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this issue?
Make a motion to accept it in minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Brinker, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning 101 and 105 East Main Street from C2 General Commercial to C3 Central Commercial District in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Sullentrup.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup. This is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions or comments?
An ordinance rezoning 101 and 105 East Main Street from C2 General Commercial to C3 Central Commercial District in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Patchke?
Yes.
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda?
Report of department heads. Employee insurance renewals.
As we had at the last admin operations meeting, Scott Schreffer gave us a overview of that. As you can see within the letter from Shauna, we are recommending that we stay with UHC Health. I think Lincoln Dental will be a new dental provider, and Mutual of Omaha for basic and voluntary life. That's new as well, correct, Mary?
Correct.
And Standard Vision, the flex spending we have with WageWorks already for the last 6 months, so we're recommending all those that she has listed within her letter.
Any questions or comments?
Still no deductible, Darren?
Correct. The city picks up that portion.
Make a motion to accept it.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Heidrich, to accept and approve this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the item. Thank you.
You don't have anything? Ordinances and
No,
resolutions?
hold on. Did you have something?
I do not at this time.
Okay, very good.
An ordinance calling a municipal election in the City of Washington, Missouri on the questions of submitting to the qualified voters of said city a capital improvement sales tax on all retail sales made in the City of Washington, Missouri for the purpose of funding capital improvements for the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. I heard Holtmeyer. Was it Scornia?
They all did.
Don't matter.
In unison, many of you. Okay.
Go dart.
All right. Okay, so this is the official letter asking the council to put the half-cent capital improvement sales tax on the ballot in April. So we'll need an ordinance, obviously, to do this. You probably have,
Correct. The other comments that I would have to add with that, you see the letter that's from the committee chair, John Vietmeyer, who's here tonight. But I will tell you that, obviously, you can see we have a lot more projects than we have revenue. So I think the goal for the committee was to make sure that the city council felt the need to go ahead and put it on the ballot for renewal at this time. They're not asking you. In the next few weeks, we will be meeting to go ahead and discuss revising this list. I've already met with staff, and we've made some substantial cuts already since this letter was first submitted. We're going to continue to do that. We've got another meeting tomorrow morning, and then we're going to present those findings to the committee tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the regular meeting. But I think they're going to be meeting at 1 o'clock for the next 3 Tuesdays in a row, probably up until the holiday break. So they'll start looking at trying to go ahead and revisit these projects and prioritize them as well. But we felt that staff's job was to go ahead and get the lion's share of this condensed down so that they didn't have to make those types of decisions. So that's all I have, unless, John, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Darren, once they make a request of what they want to put the money towards, are we going to have a vote on that, or are we just?
We can go ahead and do that.
We'll do that.
We can definitely go ahead and present that then to the full council to go ahead and get their input. Sure, absolutely.
Thanks.
any other questions or comments?
How much input has the committee had from the public so far?
I would say, I'll let Sal go ahead and elaborate. I will tell you that we've probably gotten a lot more on the online survey portion that we had. We had the public forum here, was that last Monday, prior
Yes.
to the admin
Yep.
meeting? We had 14 people that were outside of the committee members and council members and staff, but how many have we had online?
Yeah, so about 212 have been submitted online, 212 responses, and then 108 have been mailed in or dropped off with their water bills. So it's my understanding that's significantly more than we had 8
Yeah,
years
that's a
ago.
whole
We actually just compiled those today. We're going to continue accepting, you can still fill out the survey online, you can still mail it in, and we're going to continue to accept responses, but we compiled what we had today, and we're going to be making a presentation on that tomorrow.
Can you view the comments?
Yeah, yep, the comments are, I have them all in Excel spreadsheet, so you can see them in their entirety, and then tomorrow I'll have them broken down, I put it into categories, so if, it's the pool or Ronsick Field or something like that, so.
We want to, yes, as Sal said, we want to continue, so I would encourage you that if you have any citizens that want to go ahead and still voice their comments, they can go ahead and do it on the online survey, and we'll be taking those results all the way. I mean, there's no end yet. We'll probably, maybe at the end of this month, or maybe even in January, we would allow those comments to go ahead and continue. So encourage them to go ahead and do it online. It's the easiest way to do it.
That's actually far more community input than we had the last time.
Right, well, 8 years ago, we did have some public meetings, we had some public forums, and we went in different places, and even at that time, I think we had 30-some responses, or 30-some respondents, so this is a lot more with the input, so.
Any other questions? Okay.
An ordinance calling a municipal election in the city of Washington, Missouri on the questions of submitting to the qualified voters of said city a capital improvements sales tax on all retail sales made in the city of Washington, Missouri for the purpose of funding capital improvements for the city of Washington, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Skornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Hatchke.
Yes.
Brinker.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Sullentrop.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a supplemental agreement by and between the City of Washington and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Beaker and Suderman Road Improvements Project, STP 6400624.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke. John?
Okay, and gearing up for the overlay project for Beaker Studerman Road, became apparent that the sidewalks that were originally proposed in the grant from the Highway 4, or I'm sorry, Highway A, would be better suited if they were actually relocated to tie into the sidewalks that would connect I can't remember the subdivision now.
Whispering Oaks?
What's that?
Whispering
Oaks.
Whispering Oaks
Whispering
subdivision to Highway 47. So all that this does is takes one portion of the sidewalk, relocates it to a different portion. It does not add anything to the project, it just moves it, essentially. I also have a meeting scheduled with MoDOT on Wednesday to discuss the sidewalk component of the project. We have some topographic concerns. If you ever drive up Studerman Road, you'll notice that the driveways actually are on a pretty steep slope, and they go right to the back of curb. So trying to get an ADA sidewalk in that driveway is actually impossible to do. So I'm gonna meet with MoDOT to take a look at that scope of work and figure out if we can relocate it again potentially, or just see what our options really are. The goal here obviously is to get the streets paved, but this sidewalk component does add some to the project. We're just trying to figure out what the best spot for it is. So this agreement just relocates it from the west side of Studerman to the east side, is all it really does.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a supplemental agreement by and between the City of Washington and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Beaker and Studerman Road Improvements Project, STP 6400624. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Patchkey?
Yes.
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Solentrap?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance adopting the 2015 editions of the International Residential Code for one- and two-family dwellings, international property maintenance, residential building, plumbing, mechanical, fire, fuel, gas, existing buildings, swimming pool and spa, wildland urban interface codes 2015 edition, as well as the 2014 National Electric Code, NFPA 70, all with certain amendments as set forth herein.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
So, I can take it. So the 90 days, there's a 90-day review, comment review period that was probably about 100 days ago, actually is when it expired. So this is the ordinance that actually takes the place of the 2009 codes and brings us up to date to 2015. So John is here if you have any specific questions, maybe on any amendments, or really what the big changes are in the code.
John, do you have any comments? Or
I will go ahead and just say that the biggest thing that this allows and is PEX piping. We've had 3 appeals that have gone before the Board of Appeals within that time frame because John's department could not go ahead and issue that permit with that at that time. So that was up to the Board of Appeals if they wanted to appeal to them. They did. They accepted that, I think, all 3 times. Is that correct, John?
Actually 4.
It was 4 now. Okay. So that's the main one. I think there was a second one with regards to on residential. Do you want to explain that firewall separation or that separation on those wooden I-beams or whatever for residential?
Oh, yes, the wooden I-joists that you're seeing a lot in the new construction nowadays. They've basically discovered that under fire conditions, those things fail in 5 minutes or less. If you're using your old school, if you will, 2x10 sawn floor joists, you might have 20 to 30 minutes to get out instead of 5 if you're lucky. With that in mind, the code is actually suggested, well, I should say suggested, is wanting you to either drywall the bottom side to protect them or put in some sprinkler heads to protect them. That does not mean you need to put in a full sprinkler system. That just means you're putting in some heads to protect the basement floor joists. Homes, for instance, that we're building up there in Stonecrest, you're probably talking 4 heads. They can be taken off the domestic water supply, so there's no need for a special alarm system or clapper valve or any of that other things that go along with a full-blown sprinkler system. It's pretty simple and straightforward, and it's not It's not going to add a huge amount of additional cost, but the statistics are there that show that if there is an incident, you don't want to just have it the way we've been doing it.
Sorry, John, you said that you're talking about the truss joist system, right?
Yes, yeah, they resemble a wooden I-beam.
Yeah.
There's several brands on the market. Truss Joist is one of them.
So 4 heads per floor or
No, just underneath that non-drywalled floor joist.
ceiling?
So you see, if you drywall the bottom of the floor joist to protect them, you don't need the sprinklers. It's kind of a one or the other. So, you know, the builder can still choose something other than just being mandated into one thing in particular.
And is that going to be in the code as written?
Yes,
That's how it's going to be.
it's in the published book.
Getting back to your PECs, the reason you had to go through the Board of Appeals is because we're under the 2009 Boca Code right now.
Well, actually, it's because of our local ordinance amendments that prohibited it.
Correct.
And adopting the new codes, rather than line those out, I just left them in. So that way, they're available if you want. I mean, I'm not going to kid you. Personally, I'd put copper in my house, but, you know, that seems to be what the industry wants to go to. So, okay.
Why was it, what is the argument about why it was not included in the code previously?
From what I understand, there was concerns about being a new product, and many of the connections with that product were proprietary from one manufacturer to another. So if you bought the crimping tool for brand X, it wouldn't work with brand Y. The industry is standardized a little bit, so there isn't quite that much concern. There's new fittings on the market now where basically you swedge the tubing out, put the fitting in, and it shrinks back on it, and there isn't an actual clamp or crimping ring anymore. So there's several things out there that are on the market now. But that's what my understanding was. The original concern was that you'd end up leaving a plumbing bomb in people's walls because there was concern that they wouldn't know how to work with a new product.
What about safety, since it is a relatively new product, and you know, is that going to be, has it been around long enough for there to have been studies on effect over the course of time?
I believe it's been used in Europe for about 50 years now. In this country, it's probably closer to a 20-year mark. I can tell you that, you know, there has been studies out there, some suggesting that you can get chemicals leaching into your water, and then other studies saying that that's not true, it doesn't happen.
What I read was that if it was under UV light for a certain amount of time before it was installed, that it could
degrades it.
potentially, right.
Right, it degrades its strength considerably. Some of the products, 2 weeks exposure in the sunlight, I believe it loses 50% of its assumed lifespan.
It's the same way, Susan, like if your vents out your roof of your house for your gases, over time, PVC will break down from some. I wouldn't put this stuff in my doghouse, so I'm totally against it. You can set copper out for 2 years out in the sun and still put it in. I don't think it's stand the test of time, and I'm embarrassed that Washington is letting us put this in our. We always wanted to stand out from everybody else, and we're not. We're bowing, and we're letting everybody. We're letting people do what they're doing in trailers and this and that. They're going to put in $500,000 houses.
Well, my concern is that if we, 20 years down the road, you hear a lot about some cities where they're having lead issues in their water. Do we want to be in a position where we have chemicals in our water, not from the city source, but within people's homes, but due to a code that we allowed to go into effect?
And any plastic that has a dye, you're drinking that. Unless it's clear, and PEC's pipe is not clear.
Most of your brands are not clear. They come in
They're
red,
red
blue,
or blue for hot or
and there's a white
cold.
one out there as well.
You're drinking chemicals.
I can appreciate all that, with the exception of it's their choice. It's the contractor's choice, and the builder who's ever buying it If we were putting this in our city water lines, then I'd say we could stand up here and say, we don't want that. But if you're gonna build your house and you wanna put in plastic piping, then that's your call. And like you said, Mark, you wouldn't put it in yours. John wouldn't put it in his. That's a good recommendation, but far be it from me to tell a builder or a homeowner that you can't. If you want to deal with the problems, I think it's.
I just think our standards ought to be a little bit higher instead of putting in something that we put in slam, bam, jam. That's why they like it. Cheap, cheap.
Well, a lot of
Copper
peop-
takes a little bit more time and it's more durable.
Well, a lot of people assume that if it's in the building code, that then it must be safe. I mean, I think that would be an assumption of the average person, that they're not going to know that they need to look into it if it's allowed.
Well, I guess the only saving grace on this is that we're basically joining the vast majority of the rest of the nation. As far as I know, Washington is the last holdout, and I'm going to say for probably at least a couple hundred miles radius, where we have prohibited plastic water supply pipe. And I'll also tell you, in here, in some respects, I sound like I'm selling the product, even though I personally don't care for it. Many of your faucet supply lines that you go buy to hook up your faucet are poly. They're plastic. Our city water mains, all the new ones are plastic. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is now.
I'll say again, I agree with it, Mark, but my point is that if it's one detriment to the city that we're losing whether it be a developer or anything like that, then we're doing a disservice. If the rest of the country is doing it and we're the one holdout, I think we're behind the eight ball here. We have to let it go. Again, I agree with the fact that it's a less than ideal product, but if we're the only holdout, we can't detriment our developers in the city against it. I mean, again, request that you don't want it in your house, and it's a different charge for yourself.
I have been told that the savings runs somewhere roughly between $500 and $700 for a new 3-bedroom home, 2-bathroom home. So, I mean, there is some
But you're
savings
also
there.
going to have people running water lines now that every Joe Blow that thinks they're a plumber now, because when you had to run copper, you actually had to have a little bit of a trade to sweat copper and put it in nice and neat.
That is true.
Just my opinion.
That is true, and if you actually put PEX in a nice, clean, straight way that looks like a copper job, it will fail because of the expansion and contraction rate it needs to move.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
So there's no way at this point in time to just eliminate that line. It's either adopting the code as is or not. Is that correct?
You could, as a part of your local amendments, just like they did yours,
Right.
I mean, in previous versions, yes, you could go ahead and strike that and still require copper, which is what we've done in the past. But, so absolutely, you can go ahead and do that. I will tell you, though, that based upon we did have, it wasn't just staff that reviewed this over the time to go ahead and get to this point. We did have some input from some of our builders.
Yes. That's where I got the number of 500 to 700, depending on what builder I talked to.
Cheap. That's why.
So did anyone approach the Board of Appeals or
A Board of Appeals.
Board of Appeals that was turned down by the Board of Appeals for PEX piping?
Not since,
No.
not since it was going to be recommended that it was going to be allowed in the new code. Riverbend Estates, I think, was the first one.
They were the first one.
That's the new senior community out there off of High Street, south of Highway 100.
Bridgewater Communities is the next one. They wanted to be able to use CPVC as well. We've had one new home in Stonecrest, and then another real estate person who decided to replumb the place without a permit and then found out that it was a problem after the fact. But they were granted the appeal.
So no one's asked for an appeal that they had turned down? No one's been
Correct.
turned
The
down?
the board has approved all of those.
Yes, all that I'm aware of.
The first one, is, as John said, was with the
Riverbend.
Riverbend.
So we've got 4 places out there that went through the Board of Appeals process. And we've
Correct.
allowed PEX, and now we're at the question mark of whether we allow it completely or not.
Right.
Well,
I would like to say that I'd go on the judgment of the committee that come up with the Boca Code for the year 2015. And the appeals that we have, the 4 appeals we went through, they said it was fine. People throughout the United States are using it. There's no reason in my mind why somebody else should not be using it. And I feel it's safe because I haven't heard of anybody dying from it.
it's not been out long enough. That's why.
50 years,
Not in the
Well,
United
but that's in
States.
Europe.
50 years,
Not here, it's not been put in 50
still
years.
50 years.
Well, you can make a similar argument about radon gas, and people worry about that.
Right.
Show me the person that's actually died from radon gas.
Right?
Well, I would propose that we do not allow it, we amend it to not allow it.
I disagree.
Second.
I disagree.
I guarantee you, there's somebody in the audience that has a plumbing business, and I guarantee I've seen his work, and he wouldn't allow it. He likes nice, neat copper.
What isn't that?
Where are we at?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to disallow it. So we have a motion by Waterman, seconded by Hydrich, to disallow PEX piping. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Man, that was,
Opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, so I think PEX piping is in. Any other questions
John.
or comments?
Do we now vote on the ordinance?
Yeah, we do, but if there are any other questions or comments? Okay, then we'll do a second reading on the ordinance.
An ordinance adopting the 2015 editions of the International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings, international property maintenance, residential building, plumbing, mechanical, fire, fuel, gas, existing buildings, swimming pool and spa, Wildland Urban Interface Codes 2015 edition, as well as the 2014 National Electric Code, NFPA 70, all with certain amendments as set forth herein. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia?
yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Nay.
Patke?
Yes?
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Yes.
Sullentrap?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. And then this will go into effect
Immediately. It just
immediately?
did.
So it just did. So the effective date on this is immediate. Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the acceptance of a proposal from Emergency Services Consulting International to conduct a fire station location study and ISO benchmark study.
Sullentrop.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrop. Bill, do you want to comment on this?
Bill Helmick, Fire Chief. And this is as it states in the letter, a key point, this is a current sales tax project. And the importance of this thing is kind of twofold, which is covered under the scope of operations, but basically is that with growth over the last 8+ years in the city, particularly to the southeast, we need to look at where a fire station might be needed for strategic planning in the fire service, not only from a protection standpoint, risk assessment, et cetera, but future funding, because it's brought up in the current sales tax committee that's seated right now to fund a fire station and a pumper to meet this requirement as needed down the road. The second thing, which is very important and probably as much important as the first performance aspect, is the new public protection class schedule. This company will also do a pre-survey from ISO, and I talked to ISO today. They will do a pre-survey for us and tell whether there's chinks in the armor for us, for the city of Washington and their risk assessment under the new public protection class schedule. I've been through multiple protection class rating schedules for the city of Washington, not under the new schedule. And a key component I know, just for example, I'll give you an example. I attended the Chiefs Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina this last summer, primarily twofold, to attend the ISO training and also some issues on volunteer fire departments. But the ISO class brought up some key points, is they're basically in a new schedule, which we need to work through with an engineer, is redistributing the points for an engine company. So you get so many points in your municipality for an engine company. We used to max our points out, for an example. We got 542 points allowed for an engine company, and because of our maintenance, our hose testing, our pump testing, annual, et cetera, we got the maximum number of points. They're redistributing that, and besides looking at hydrants, et cetera, they're also going to look now at road miles driven from a fire station. So it's going to impact another issue that we've been talking about quite a bit in plan review on access, fire lanes and fire department access, because now ISO is actually going to add up road miles covered by each fire station and what road miles in your area are deficient. This engineer, the firm that does the evaluation for the land, the property for a fire station, will also help us with all the aspects of the public protection class review, which would help me bring the newer, younger officers, executive officers in the department up to speed on the new schedule. At the same time, we're wading through it for future reference. So it's a very important project. It affects primarily planning and risk assessment, but community risk reduction has gotten to be a key focal point for the fire service. The fire service is chastised for spending 90% of its budget on after the fact and providing suppression assets. The thrust of the insurance industry and the public protection class is to focus on preventing fires and readiness in your community. So that's what this is about.
Okay.
Very important.
Thank
Bill,
you.
did we do this study on every one of our firehouses?
Pardon me?
Did we do this study on every one of the firehouses we have in town?
Yes, we did. The last one I was involved in 1998 was Marshall McClellan. They used to have a St. Louis office. I talked to Marshall. I emailed them, I should say. I didn't talk to anybody. But because they did our study, and it was in 96, we built the stations in 98, 3 and 4. But I emailed them and contacted to get them to provide an RFQ. I never heard back from them. But I heard back from this company, as did John, and I contacted some people that had done business with them, as I mentioned in the letter, Clayton particularly in Glendale, and they gave raving testimonies and said they would use them again. But yes, we've always used third party. And the last time it was because of House 4 is close, in somewhat close proximity to headquarters. That was a question. But the consultant and ISO both said at the time in 1996 that we needed to have a fire station on the north side of the Bush Creek floodplain. That's when I started using the term with previous administrations that our Bush Creek area basically is our river de pair. And from a risk assessment, community risk standpoint, that's how we look at it. I looked at it that way as an emergency management director as well.
And this will come out of the half-cent sales tax when it passes?
Yes.
Not-
Yes, sir.
Not the study.
Not the study.
Not the study. The study is out of the current sales tax we're in. It was on the slate. We did not put a dollar amount with it because of the time span and how dynamic those studies are. So the dollar amount, as a matter of fact, includes 2 discounts, actually, because I'm an active member of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. We got a 3% discount on the property survey study, and we got an additional 8% on the public protection class study. So the number you see, the 34,000, represents 8% in discounts for International Association of Chiefs, which more than pays my membership dues, by the way.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments of Bill? Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Very welcome. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the acceptance of a proposal from Emergency Services Consulting International to conduct a fire station location study and ISO benchmark study. Moheski? Aye. Scornia? Yes. Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Hatchke?
Yes.
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Follentrap?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Clark Equipment Company doing business as Bobcat Company, West Fargo, North Dakota, and to approve the purchase of a S740 T4 Bobcat skid steer loader by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. Tony?
Tony Bonastia from the Street Department. It's going to replace our 2002 model skidder at the recycle center. The one down there is pretty beat. This is going to be an upgrade. We'll have a cab with heating and air conditioning. It's going to have some solid tires. We don't have to worry about flats, especially for the purpose we're using it for. It's not out in the dirt kind of operation, so it's mainly for the recycle center. We get a grapple bucket with it, and we're also going to go with a brush hog attachment.
Any questions of Tony? Okay, thank
Well
you.
overdue.
What's that?
The old one's well overdue.
It's time.
All right.
Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Clark Equipment Company doing business as Bobcat Company, West Fargo, North Dakota, and to approve the purchase of a S740 T4 Bobcat skid steer loader by the City of Washington, Missouri. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia? Yes. Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Brinker? Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Deere and Company and to approve the purchase of a John Deere 509M utility tractor and attachments by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Heidrich.
Introduced by Councilman Heidrich.
As outlined in your packet and discussed last week at the ad hoc meeting, we're looking to replace a 1991 Case utility tractor with the John Deere tractor. Like I said last week, we looked at different options of contract and bids, and the NJPA bid was the best deal at 21% off. So staff is recommending to move forward with this purchase.
Just through a state contract?
It's a nationwide program, cooperative purchasing.
It was better than
program.
a state contract. The
Yes,
price was,
state contract was only 17%. This is 21%.
Nice.
which is unusual.
And also we'll be trading in the Case tractor, so that's $5,500 trade-in value.
Cool.
Okay, any other questions of Darren? Okay, thank you.
Is this the only thing you haven't included in the half-cent sales tax?
Just wait. We've got a kitchen sink.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Deere and Company and to approve the purchase of a John Deere 509M utility tractor and attachments by the City of Washington, Missouri. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Here, if there is too. I can.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the purchase of server hardware by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Direct Technology Group.
Introduced by Councilman Brinker.
This was also brought to you at your admin ops meeting last week with regards to it. This is below budget. The budget is $85,000. It looks like there was 3 bids that he received or whatever, and you can see that this one is the low bid, $71,414 from DTG. So,
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the purchase of server hardware by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Direct Technology Group. Moheski?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Brinker?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the 2017 budget for the period of October 1, 2016 through September 30, 2017 for the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. Mary?
Okay, included in your packet tonight, we have 2 budget amendments. The first one is for 2017. Basically, this is to adjust revenues, appropriate funds for network infrastructure replacement, and adjust for timing of capital projects. I just want to clarify that this is before audited journal entries. So it is possible I might have to come back with another one, but hopefully this will capture most of the changes that we need. I'm happy to answer any specific questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments?
Just keep us in budget.
That's what we're trying to do.
An ordinance amending the 2017 budget for the period of October 1, 2016 through September 30, 2017 for the city of Washington, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Scornia. Waterman.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Patchke.
Yes.
Brinker. Yes. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Stellentrep.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the 2018 budget for the period of October 1, 2017 through September 30, 2018 for the city of Washington, Missouri.
Holmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
And this second one, as Mary said, was for 2018 budget amendment. The main reasons for this one is the timing of those capital projects from 2017 got pushed into 2018, and they weren't budgeted in 18. So we went ahead and included those in here. Mainly that's the trail extension project. In addition to that, we appropriated additional funds for a Bluff Road project, Main Park Pavilion roof replacement, the transfer station, and new chemical feed pumps which is what Kevin had spoke about at the admin ops meeting. So while we were doing it, we just tried to get all those projects to date in here so that they would be budgeted before we appropriate funds. Any other questions or any questions?
Questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mary.
An ordinance amending the 2018 budget for the period of October 1, 2017 through September 30, 2018 for the city of Washington, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Patchke.
Yes.
Brinker.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Stellentrep.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Pangea Group for construction of the improvements to the Schultz Industrial Park Stormwater Detention System, authorizing issuance of a notice of award, issuance of a notice to proceed, and authorizing and directing the execution of a contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Pangea Group in conjunction with the Community Development Block Grant.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
Yes, this is for the improvements to the Schultz Industrial Park Stormwater Detention Basin. This is the project where we'll be using the Lot 23 in the Hyman Industrial Park as the borrow site to get that primarily pad ready as we can, and then use that dirt to construct the new basin. If you'll see in your packet, there is a letter from Washington Engineering. They are our contracted engineer for this project and did put the bid specs together for us and reviewed them. We did interview the two lowest bidders because our lowest Pangea was significantly lower than the rest of the bidders. I think we had seven bid in total. And Pangea came in at $654,964. That is about a little less than $100,000 below what Buttervich, who was the second lowest bidder. Now, we did offer an alternate for blasting. It would be significantly cheaper for both, but with all that's for the borrow side in Hyman, with the sensitive equipment out there and the industries that we have with Missouri Data Center, with LMI, with all the industries in that area, we preferred, and the first priority was to get a bid back that was in our budget that did not include blasting. And with Pangea's numbers, we are confident that we will. Well, we know we'll be below budget with what we expected, which is good. And then since these are federal money with the block grant, you interview the bidder, and then if there's any reason for a disqualification, then you follow through with that at that time. We met with them the Wednesday. We opened bids on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, met with them Wednesday, and went through all the specs with them, with our engineer, with Washington Engineering, and then two members of their team as well, to make sure they were comfortable with that bid and make sure they didn't leave anything out. The only thing that was caught between both engineers was about $5,000 for seeding and straw. Other than that, they are confident that they will meet this bid number that they submitted. So,
are we familiar with Pangea, or have they done any work for us before?
They have not done any work in town. I will say they are familiar with with government bids. They do a lot of government projects. They are currently a sub on the Louisiana Bridge, the bridge going over the Missouri River in Louisiana. So they were registered on SAM.gov. They had good references. And we did actually speak to some of the other bidders that we met with, and they had said that, they have a good reputation. So they came back, like I said, after that meeting on this past, I guess, the Monday after, last Monday, so a week ago, and said, yep, they were comfortable. They think the numbers they submitted are accurate, and they can get the job done for that amount, so.
Is there any reason why they didn't have the paperwork at the meeting?
There is, as part of the block grant, you have to submit some certifications to do some government work. It was in the bid specs. They had them filled out and they didn't bring them. I couldn't tell you exactly why they weren't submitted, but our grant administrator was present for the bid opening, and he stated that as part of the approval process for the block grant, they are permitted to submit that within 72 hours after bid opening. In all honesty, it could be some type of strategy to see what else is submitted, what the other amounts are before they get everything in. I couldn't tell you for sure.
Everything that needed to be submitted for the bid opening was there.
Yeah.
It was the follow-up items that they had that time frame to go ahead and get those back in.
And they had those in less than 24 hours. So they obviously had them ready to be turned in. They must have, they were probably aware that they weren't required, so.
Sure.
But.
Any other questions or comments?
All right, thank you.
Okay. Mary?
An ordinance accepting the bid from Pangea Group for construction of the improvements to the Schultz Industrial Park Stormwater Detention System, authorizing issuance of a notice of award, issuance of a notice to proceed, and authorizing and directing the execution of a contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, and Pangea Group in conjunction with the Community Development Block Grant. Moheski.
Aye.
Scornia. Waterman.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Brinker.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Solentrap.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for Highland Meadows Plat 2 subdivision in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
The Highland Meadows Plat 2 subdivision is essentially the High Street extension to the south. It's approximately 1,100 and I believe 54 feet of High Street extension. It does include the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and the street improvements. The street did omit the last 2-inch lift of asphalt. And working with the contractor pretty diligently since the summer, we were able to get that last 2 inches of asphalt put on the street last week. So pavement conditions were good. Compaction test came back very favorable within specification. So I'm comfortable with requesting you all to take over maintenance of that subdivision. In addition to that, there will be a 2-year maintenance bond put up for 20% of the construction cost. So.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for Highland Meadows Plat 2 subdivision in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Scornia. Waterman.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Patke. Brinker.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Solentrap.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you. Sorry.
Mayor's report.
Yeah, are you doing something?
I can go ahead and cover, we can both cover that if you want.
Okay.
There is a, right now, we had tried, as you can see from your agenda, we tried to go ahead and get everything on this first meeting so that we could not have to have a second meeting. However, I think Chief Menefee had brought up to our attention, he is in the process, though, of hiring possibly a couple of officers, or maybe. And so in order not to, for his staff to go ahead and be short, we may have to have a quick second meeting later this month. So, but he's going to let us know here in about by Thursday. So we will send an email, but for the time being, the next council meeting won't be till Tuesday, January the 2nd.
It'll be a quick, short one.
And if we do, it'll be a very quick, short one.
Phone it in?
Excuse me?
We can phone
Phone it in.
I don't think our attorney will allow you to do that. That's,
Steve, they're gonna have cold cuts at that one? You like
Chief's
having
in
cold
charge of
cuts.
Cold cuts.
Chief's in charge of cold cuts.
we could
He's
have that.
nodding.
We could have it earlier that day. You don't have to, I mean, that's up to you. Those
I'll eat before it comes.
will be the only items that we would have on the agenda.
We haven't had cold cut. Our pizzas, most pizzas.
Okay, and so I just want to comment, I mean, 'tis the season of Christmas. It's approaching us, and by some thoughts, we're in the middle of it, or anyway, but it's a season of gratitude, and I appreciate all of you, and thank you for your service to the city. I think we've had another great year here at the city, and you all are very supportive of our city staff, and I appreciate that, and I know you work hard as council people. So anyway, thank you for your service, and that's all I have.
City Administrator report.
The only other item I wanted to go ahead and mention is just shout out, hopefully the paper can go ahead and pick it up as well, is that we're going to try to go ahead and get a little bit more use out of the Code Red for stuff that's not just for emergencies. It's my understanding there's two separate things you can sign up. One is just general notifications, but the second is for emergency type operations. But we are looking at trying to go ahead and communicate more with the citizens with regards to, I'll tell you what came up was Tony was brought to my attention that his office goes ahead and sends out within the utility bill the future dates all throughout 2018 when trash will be collected, for example, on those dates when we have holidays during the year. As I mentioned, that's a lot for me. I would lose that sheet of paper within 5 minutes and be, you know, kind of clueless. But so I asked, you know, can we go ahead and do some other ways of going ahead and mentioning, or at least getting the word out to the citizens that, hey, trash is going to be picked up on a different, and so what we may be doing is looking at, is utilizing that service, doing a call out, you know, maybe that weekend to say, reminder, it's a special holiday week, your trash will be picked up, you know, et cetera, and give some kind of information.
Would it still say Code Red, or would you have a different intro?
No, it has. I think you can have a different intro. I don't think you have to go ahead and do that. Yeah, we don't want to alarm anybody with regards to it. But it's just another way, as well as, and I brought it up with Tony, is we could also go ahead and have that on the Facebook page as well. So it's just alternative ways of getting the word out for folks.
That's a great idea, because a lot of people don't catch it in the newspaper all the time. We get calls like, why didn't our trash get picked up?
Right. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that up. I encouraged Lisa Moffett to go ahead and try to get that used more. And so this was a way to go ahead and do that. So I would encourage you to go back if your constituents or, you know, or any citizens are looking, they can go ahead and sign up for both. If they're not signed up now, they can still sign up. You can do that, I think, on our webpage, and I think there was some language that changed a little bit to try to make it sure that people realize that it was also notifications. It's just not for emergency.
We're not doing anything like that now, though, right?
No, we have used it a few times, but it's been very sparingly. I think in the past, if we had a public meeting, I think in the past, years past, we might have done it for a large P&Z type thing if it was a public hearing.
Car breaks and car break-ins a couple months ago.
I said for your car breaks.
Okay.
The car, when there was multiple break-ins in Ward 2.
Oh, okay.
I got one.
Right.
We used the Code Red when we had that problem a couple of years ago with the water.
We did it when we had the water
Yes.
issue as well. When
We had
the
an
boil
incident,
order.
I mean, obviously, that's the way that we're going to go ahead and use, but just simple notifications, too, to reminders, et cetera. That's what we're going to try to go ahead and do. So if you're talking with, like I said, citizens in the community, go ahead and encourage them to go ahead and sign up for that, because it can be used for more.
So are the
Other
people that are already signed up, are they automatically going to be signed up for all?
No, there's two separate, they can sign up for two separate things. They can sign up for emergency only, or they can sign up for general notifications as
But
well.
if they're already signed up?
No, they don't have to sign up again.
They don't.
Fine.
Well,
They should
but
be fine.
unless they've not signed up.
Unless they've
or-
not signed up for like the general notifications, okay? So if
talk
they just
about-
did emergency only, and we send out a notification, like I said, about trash, you know, pickup, well, they're not gonna get that unless they sign up for that as well.
Okay.
You talk about general notifications, are you talking about like when Moe's Pizza has a new pizza coming out?
No, not for that. Not when most, well, you know, maybe we could do sponsorships. That would really get.
That would be,
That'd be a
I'm sure people would really love to hear
sponsored
those
by-
phone calls from the city then.
From me, they would. This is your council.
Tony also mentioned, like,
Knew
if
it
there's
most.
bad weather expected,
Yeah.
could
Sure.
It's a good
say,
idea, though.
get, you know, we're going to be salting, so move your
Pick
cars
anything
off the
you have,
street
whether it be-
if you
yeah,
can, you know.
Construction projects, if there's going to be a
Construction.
change or something, construction projects, that's another thing. We talked about that possibly being
Bridge
used.
closings.
You got it, you might as well use it, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Got it,
get more use out of it.
Sure, it's a good idea.
Right, Joe?
And I think Code Red has,
Let's call it Code Blue or something else.
We have a closed session.
I do not have a need for a closed
I
session.
make a motion to adjourn,
Second.
and I'd like to thank Sandy for the little present she gave us all.
you're
And have a
welcome.
very good Christmas yourself.
Ditto.
Thank you. Thank you.
My box is empty.
Let's see, all those in favor for adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
To the center of the earth.